I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves that had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end a long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. Yes, black men as well as white men. This note was a promise. But it seems that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off, nor to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valleys of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. And to those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content, will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro has granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt shall continue to shake the foundations of this nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plains of dignity and discipline. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, they have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny, They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back now. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied. As long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities, we can never be satisfied. As long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one, we can never be satisfied. As long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating "for whites only," we can never be satisfied. As long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote, no, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. I am not unmindful that many of you have come here today out of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom has left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi, go back to Alabama, go back to South Carolina, go back to Georgia, go back to Louisiana, go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. And so I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, it will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, whose governor's lips are presently dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain. The crooked places will be made straight. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died. Land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America's to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the hiding Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and every molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
This lets us know that sometimes we may have something in our mind. We may know what we need to do, but it takes somebody else just to push us, just to give us the permission, if you will, to tell the world about our dreams. So no, the program isn't over yet, but when we do conclude the program and you go out and enjoy the rest of your day, be sure to tell the world about your dream. We have now come to the part of the presentation that many of you all have waited for. For over 15 years, we have had the pleasure of presenting the Gamma Delta Kudos, sponsored by the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa and the Kappa Leadership League, sponsored by
Kappa Leadership League. Men of excellence. Excellence can't be attained if you care. More than other things wise. Risk more than other things practical. Expect more than other things possible. When you see us, see young men who have confidence, pride, talent, wisdom, and strength in order to be men of excellence. Young men of Kudos. Men of excellence. We know to achieve, we must believe all that we can conceive. To be men of excellence, we must have determination, be disciplined, and have dreams. Oh yes, we have a bad mentality. We are believers, achievers, and dreamers. He had a dream. Sometimes we have to die before our eyes are open.
A young man with truth and justice in his heart.
Working for a people, trying to do his part.
Words of divine inspiration.
Move the heart of a race, divided nation. Sometimes we have to die before our eyes are open. Dedicated to the life and our time together of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I had a dream. This is talking about the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has a powerful impact on people, even on us today. Gentlemen, tell the people what a dream means to you.
A dream, it motivates you, it stimulates you. A dream, it shows you the future today. It gives you hope to believe in the impossible. A dream, it brings life to you, it rejuvenates you. It gives you something to go after. A dream, it gives you the edge on life. You're always one step ahead. A dream, it causes you to see beyond where you're at and to know there is something. To accomplish great things, we must dream as well as act upon our dreams.
Thank you,
the God Almighty called him at this particular moment in history to do it. And he must do it with a sense of cosmic responsibility, no matter how small it may be. He must do a little job in a big way. He must do an ordinary job in an extraordinary way.
If you can't be a pine on top of the hill, just be a shrub in the valley. But be the best little shrub on the side of the hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by the size that you win or fail. Be the best at whatever you are.
If it falls your lot to sweep streets, sweep them like Michelangelo, paint pictures, like Shakespeare, wrote poetry, like Beethoven, compose music.
We must skillfully and intellectually prepare ourselves to live in an integrated society. Whatever you choose as your life's work, do it well. Don't be content with sheer mediocrity. Do your job so well that nobody can do it better. Do it so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to say, here lived a man who did his job as if God Almighty had called him at this particular moment in history to do it.
John King's message to black youth on the pursuits of excellence.
Sad times, but I'm not broken. Wounded, the time will heal. Heavy the load, the cross I bear. Lonely the road I tread. I dare, shaken, but here I stand.
Yeah, go ahead on.
Weary, still I press on.
It's all right. It's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Still I rise, still we rise, still I rise, still we rise, shed, but I'm not broke. Wounded, the time will heal. Heavy the load, the cross I bear, lonely the road, I tried, I dare.
Shaken, but here I stand. Weary, still I press on. Long are the nights, the tears I cry. Dark are the days, no sun in the sky.
Yet still I rise, never to give up, never to give in. Against all odds, yet still I rise. High above the clouds, yet times I feel low. Yet still I rise. Sometimes I'm troubled, but not in despair. Struggles, I make my way through. Trials, they come to make me strong. I must endure, I must hold on. Yet still I rise, never to give up, never to give in. Against all odds, yet still I rise. High above the clouds, yet times I feel low. Yet still I rise. Still we rise.
Child, I'm gonna walk